What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Writer's Block. We're just going to totally pretend like we didn't already hit this intro before and forgot to hit record, but we're going to run it again. But, man, we're pumped to be able to have some incredible guests with us today. I have the vocalist and drummer from what I'm saying is a future Grammy-winning metal band. Man, their band currently has over 30,000 streams on their Spotify, and not even including all the other platforms. But man, in my opinion, they're two of the best looking dudes on the planet. We have Tyler and Nick from Wiltwither. Come on, let's welcome them to the show.
Blessings. The Grammys will not happen. If it does, I will eat my shoe. That would be
that was a bunch of cap. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was
insane.
I'm pumped that you guys are coming and hanging out. And like I said, we've already done this intro one time before, but
it's okay.
We're gonna hit it again.
Yes,
but man,
thanks for having us, my guy.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for you guys coming and jumping in and being able to, just talk with me about what all you guys have going on. And so just kind of backtrack a little bit of our relationship a little bit. I went to go talk and or try and think through when was the first time we met, and was about to acknowledge, your former work in Descent. But then I remembered even further than that, I had met you guys. One of my first metal shows I ever went to was a For Today show back in, I think it's 2014, 2015, something like that. And you guys were in a giant bacon and banana costume. And so it was
Green Street.
Yeah. Wake tour. It was For Today, Fit for a King, Gideon, Phineas, and Silent Planet. And that show was absolute absurdity. Phineas, I remember they shouted out My Horses Are Many, which is my favorite song by them. They shouted that out to the guy in the bacon suit, which was me. That was oh my gosh, that was incredible. I remember that.
It's awesome. That's a core memory.
Yeah, I did a vocal feature with Silent Planet, busted a dude's eyebrow open with the mic stand. That shit was like, it's a metal show, bro. Sorry.
Stuff happens. And I'm sure it wasn't it that Thomas kicked you off stage too?
Yes, because he was on the stage for like way too long. He kind of like
way too long
froze up and was like just caught in the moment. Thomas was like, "Get your ass on the stage!"
Yeah, Spartan kicked my bro. It was hilarious.
That's awesome. And then
hilarious, bro.
It was the craziest experience because, like I said, it was my first metal show experience ever, and I remember
that's wild.
And I remember getting off like side stage. It's because everybody's going crazy, and so we just somehow got pushed off like to the side where the entrance is. And I mean, everybody's going crazy. And then one of the bands, the drummer broke a stick and like threw it out in the crowd. And a dude's like holding his arms up in the air, holding the drumstick. And another guy stage dives and lands right on top of the broken drumstick. And then he comes off, he's crowd surfing, and then he falls on the ground. And he just goes and runs to the bathroom, like holding his crotch. And then he runs out and his hand is just covered in blood. And he looks at his friends and just goes, "Dude, they busted. We got to leave." And they just dip out. It was crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. So it's definitely.
He said it busted?
They busted.
They busted. I don't know. He may not be alive anymore. I don't know.
Bro,
I hope he is.
One, but
I hope for his sake. Bro,
the twins?
There's a reason. There's a reason I don't pit anymore, and that's all I'm gonna leave with it. There's a reason I don't pit anymore.
Yeah, gonna catch a broken drumstick, but
I don't pit because I always get kicked out.
That's true. You're a menace. You're a fucking menace, to be honest.
But yeah, man. But just backtracking, so you have that, and then you fast forward a little bit, and then you guys, you have what's formerly known as Descent. And being able to see you guys play in Statesville, and I remember how crazy of an experience that was. I love being able to see you guys perform. But then you get to the last song, and Nick's going out into the crowd and screaming at people, and then Tyler's just carrying the drums and throwing them out into the crowd, and he's playing them out. I mean, it's a crazy experience. And so, talking a little bit about that, like what your journey has been from those early stages, but then up to where you guys are now.
Humble beginnings for sure. This is me and Tyler's 11th year consecutively making music together. Well, like not successfully consecutively, but consecutively nonetheless. Like it started with like dumb bands in high school. Like he basically forced me to learn how to scream when I was like 14 because he wanted to make a band and he had to be the drummer because he was the better drummer or whatever, because I played drums too and I couldn't play guitar or bass or anything. So I had to learn how to scream. And we would like make these like bands, like we were like, all right, we're called Graves. And then we'd like make this like Facebook page. We'd post like stuff on it, like, hey, we're in the studio. Would never drop music, would never play a show. And then we would just break up and make this like big post about it on Facebook. 3 months later, do the exact same thing with a different band name. And then, come to Descent, and we like finally wanted to like kick ourselves in the ass and like actually make something happen and like do something, and we did. You know, it was a really awesome 2 years like pursuing Descent and doing that and learning so much throughout that process. And like you said, like we just wanted to be vulnerable with people. Like one of our biggest live influences, even though we don't really sound like them at all, is the Chariot. And like the Chariot would just do the most absolute obscene, absurd things. Like they played like a coffee shop in Australia one time, and then they got kicked out of the coffee shop because they tried to play in like the front like lobby area. So then they packed the show up.
Knocked the Bears. They knocked the Bears down.
Yeah, they knocked the Bears down. They packed the show up, and they're like, "Hey, can we play at somebody's house? Because we still have half a set left." They go to a dude's house and like play on his roof, like stuff like that.
Oh my gosh!
And we don't want to be that crazy, but it's just the idea of like, oh, let's just go put the drum set in the middle of everybody, and like, you know, to this day, every single set, I get in the crowd, I get right in people's faces, I'll push people and start a mosh pit and stuff. Like, it's just about, you know, trying to be as connected with people as possible. I love to say like there's no separation, there's no stage, there's no floor, like we're all together, we're all doing this together, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope. Taking that back and seeing the songs that you had been forming, you know, many years ago, and then now, you know, you're about to put out as we're recording this, it'll be tonight at midnight, however you want to qualify that.
Yeah.
Y'all are putting out your Redux EP, and so, man, talk about that, like what that process has been like. Kind of whenever you form songs together, what does that look like? You know, as you guys sit down and write this stuff, what's your process?
We wrote that originally when we were Descent. We actually booked the release show before we actually finished the EP.
It was like March 2018. We were like, all right, guys, let's write an EP. And then we were like, okay, when do we want to write it? And then we were like, I don't know. Let's book the release date in June. Let's do it. Like,
let's do it
again.
So yeah, we didn't, long story short, we didn't give the EP the time it deserved. And craft the songs that we needed to. So we're re-releasing it under Wiltwither. It's a completely different experience, which is really cool. Seeing these songs that we wrote a long time ago and seeing how they turned into actual songs. It feels like real songs this time. So yeah, it's been cool. We're all in different states. So we're still trying to find our groove of how we're gonna write. Or how we write effectively. And we're hopping back ideas and stuff like that. But right now, yeah, we're in the turbulence of getting all of our stuff together, with all of us being in different states. But
yeah,
usually we just sit down, hash out a few demos, stitch them together, create like 7 different versions of the same song. So we're like, okay, yeah, we can't do any more to this song.
Yeah.
And then that's usually how it goes. Well, that's how it went for the Redux. The new stuff has been more deliberate on parts and taking new steps.
Achieving like certain moments or like certain ideas within the songs. Because we're writing a ton of material right now, and it's like you said, like finding that balance. Like Anna, our bass player, lives in Georgia. Me, Tyler, and Josh all live around the Columbia area, and then Dakota and Khalil live in Charlotte and like Hendersonville, North Carolina. So like, you know, it's this whole balance of trying to figure out like how we write as a group and like who needs to always be there, who can like show up when they need to, and yeah, it's been a whole thing for sure.
Yeah, and that's wild. Like, and imagining the, you know, some people, I remember like playing in bands back in the day, and you're struggling to get people to like, hey, let's come to a writing session. It's like, oh, we can't do this and blah, blah, blah. And they live like 15 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
So, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. And so, I mean, and that's, it's cool to see that journey for you guys so far, and hearing, like you said, I mean, this is like, you feel like you're just scratching the surface. Like this is only the beginning. And so, and thinking back to, you know, those earlier days, and then now you're playing shows with, you know, Fit for a King, Alpha Wolf, and then, I mean, y'all's really good friends, Silent Planet. And so, I mean, it's crazy to think about. And so for you guys, when you backtrack and think back to those early days of just attending shows, and then now being able to share the stage with some of those people, how's that impacted you guys in your performance, but then also in the way that you write?
It's just insanity, to be honest. Like to come up and like I remember the first like big show I ever went to was For Today, Phineas, and Silent Planet at New Brooklyn Tavern in like 2013 or something like that. 2014. It was
2014,
2014.
yeah.
Yeah, 2014. Like going there and like that's when we first met Silent Planet, became friends with them, like started our really awesome friendship that we have with them now. And like to think back to those days where like being in a band was just like this idea, this like super far away, untangible dream that I could not touch yet. And then like to just like fast forward and then 2 times in a year I get to share the stage with them and like actually like fellowship with them and like be a part of like that side of the experience. Like it's one thing to like
Right.
be the fan that goes to the show and has the really awesome opportunity to hang out with them afterwards and consider them friends, but then to be on the opposite side of the experience and like share the stage with them and be a part of that is like I can't even like really put to words how that feels. It's just indescribably
Yeah.
amazing. It's just
Yeah.
it's something that like that's why I do this. I chase this every day for that same reason,
Most of the time, it doesn't feel real, especially coming from small town in South Carolina, going to play with some of these giants in the metalcore scene is, yeah, it doesn't feel real most of the time. And it's really cool to, we've been getting some compliments of, dang, like y'all don't seem like an opener. You sound like you would be a part of the package, and that's been really cool and makes it feel like all the work that we're putting into this is worth it. Which is it's hard to describe. Like what Nick said, it's hard to describe. Yeah, especially seeing like playing with Alex Camarina. He's literally my favorite drummer. Sharing the stage with him and having conversations afterwards of dang, like I like the sound that y'all are going for, and it's like, bro, chill. I'm about to cry. Like I'm gonna need you to stop talking to me. My hands are shaking. I can't discuss this right now. So yeah, feels like Disney World when we play with bands that we grew up listening to. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And it's so cool to see that. And this is from an outside perspective. Like you guys definitely deserve that. I know that y'all may not feel like that internally, but I think you do. And I think it's because of not only, I mean, clearly you guys are very talented at what you do, but the big thing that goes hand in hand with that is you guys work so hard at it. Like you put in so much of your energy and your time and your emotion into what you do. And I think that's why, it's given you such a big platform in these elements. And just seeing you guys a couple months ago opening up for the Fit for King, Silent Planet, Hollowfront, that whole, I forget the name of the tour, but
I think that was the Dark Path tour because it was for their record.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And just being able to see you guys perform in that sense. And it had been since you guys were still Descent, since I saw you play before. And so it's like this, I mean, it was just amazing. It was a really incredible experience to watch you guys just do your thing confidently and just having all that passion and excitement in the world. And so we dove in a little bit with, you guys have that really, really good relationship with Silent Planet. What's some takeaways? I know beyond even just the music, what's some things that you guys have taken away from just having that, you said fellowship, kind of that camaraderie with them? What would you say that you've learned from their friendship?
So I'd say, one of the biggest things that has always like really like rang true to me, like just struck home. One of the biggest things is like some big advice that Garrett has always said is, when it comes to like band rosters and stuff like that, because we've had roster changes. Like we used to have a guy named Trevor who we still hang out with all the time, but we love Trevor to death. He's not in the band anymore. He was in Descent, and we've had different people, come in and come out of the project and stuff. And sometimes things have felt turbulent. Sometimes things like don't always feel like they're going to add up or like line up at the end of the day. One of the biggest piece of advice I've ever gotten in the music industry in general is from Garrett from Silent Planet. And he said, like, when you start a band, like you only need 2 solid people that want the same goal and like have the same drive and same passion, and everything else falls into place afterwards. And that's always been me and Tyler. Like it's always been he and I doing stuff together, even when people have come in or come out or haven't been around. Like it's always me and him. And we have a really strong and dedicated team now. Like I wouldn't want to replace anybody in our band with anybody, despite the jokes I might make towards them saying that I do. And that advice and that statement that Garrett kind of shared with me a few years ago, like that really has been like the biggest thing that's like stuck with me is like keep pursuing, just have that one person that you're working with and everything else falls into place, you know?
Yeah. And for me, it's cool to see um like the community that metal has been building recently. Like it's not tough guy gatekeeping bullshit. It's genuine care and genuine relationships with each other. And that was the main inspiration was Silent Planet. So to see us kind of walk in this, our mantra is there's community in pain. And that's just a direct homage to Silent Planet. So it's cool to see bands that actually genuinely care about people and relationships get to this level of bringing smaller bands into that same space is really cool. Yeah, same with the you just need that one solid person. That's been a gigantic theme in Wiltwither. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. And I think that's a big encouragement that I think because you guys have taken that away and, you know, being open-handed and sharing that, you know, somebody may listen to this and be like, dang, that's exactly what I needed to hear, you know? And so I'm sure the freedom that you guys have experienced from that, I'm sure can carry into, you know, so many other people, no matter what type of music it is, no matter what you're trying to build and establish. I think that's such a strong point. And so we'd hit on a little bit about your EP earlier, but Tyler, I know you mix a lot of that. And so the tediousness that can come with mixing and engineering, I know for me, I love the production side of stuff and I love putting that together, but the mixing side, I suck trying to craft and create these songs, man. What's some fun things about it that you found in it, but then also what's some of the like the tedious stuff that it's like it's a grind and it's work to try and do it.
Yeah. The fun in producing in general, there's pros and cons to every art trade. Same with the design, but my favorite part is, funny enough, the mixing phase, because that's what everyone else is going to hear. No one else is going to hear the hours put into it, crafting certain tones or whatever. So it's really cool to see, like, I'm the first person to hear what other people are going to hear later.
Mm-hmm.
And the decisions I make here are going to dictate how people feel about the music in the future. I cannot stand recording. I hate recording with a passion, especially recording Nick, because Nick does like 30 different inflections on his voice for the same phrase, and it's so many decisions. Like, do we want more of a gritty kind of thing? Do we want it more staccato, held out? Do we want it to crack a little bit in this spot? Should we have layers? And it's just like, for me, recording and the writing phase is just like so overwhelming at times. That the amount of choices kind of leaves you motionless of like, dang, you're just overwhelmed of everything. It gets you can ask Nick. I'm pretty sure at mixing too, so I feel you on that. And I overthink everything, and I'll send like 7 different revisions for each song.
Yeah, and there's barely any change. It's like, bro, calm down, dog. It's okay. Like,
yeah.
Everybody in the chat's always like, dog, this sounds fine. It sounded fine 5 revisions ago. It's okay. Like,
yeah. And like you said, it's that for you, the payoff of seeing people's feedback after of, you know, kind of where that's like, okay, this actually makes a difference in somebody's life. And so, you know, what's that experience been like with you guys too, of you're not only playing shows, but then whenever you put out the music and, you know, the pros and cons, there's a lot of pros and cons with social media, but the pros of it, of you get to interact with people that you typically wouldn't. And so, you know, what's that feedback been like so far off of releasing the singles, you know, leading up to this release, but then also just the catalog that you put out so far?
Yeah, we've been extremely blessed with all of the positive reception that we've been receiving for all the music we've been putting out. It's really interesting because this house EP, this Redux is like not new to us by any means, and is not new to a lot of our longtime friends and fans that have been with us, for varying degrees of the journey from the very beginning, or, even 2 years ago. For some people, it's a bit familiar now, but it's what's been really wild is like the amount of reception of people that like think it's new music. They're like, man, this new EP is so good. And we're like, this is not new. Don't get used to this, because as soon as we put out the new stuff, we're done playing this. You know what I mean? And that's been really funny. Just kind of getting that reaction, having that interaction with people is like, people come up to me, they're like, man, like, Hope as Hell is like so good. Like, I hope you guys keep playing this. And I'm like, joke's on you. We're not going to. Like, we've been playing it for 5 years. We're sick of it. But that's also like, that was a really fun part of the process of like reduxing it, like redoing the EP was really fun for me too. Cause like getting to go back through these old songs that like have so many memories attached to them, of like the journey we've been on for the past 5 years doing this project from Descent to Wiltwither, like revisiting that, getting to revisit myself from 5 years ago and like see where my headspace was at and what's changed, or like what experiences have been. That's been really cool too. I love like when we get little hate messages, like little hate comments in our posts when we do like the little bit of like advertisement that we'll push through for stuff. Somebody will like comment, they'll be like, oh, this sucks, I'm gonna go back to listening to Slayer. And I'll just like troll them with comments on on our Facebook page. Like one guy, he commented, Tyler did like, I think it was like for fans of like Loathe, Silent Planet or whatever. And this guy was like, you're for fans of is severely disappointing. And I was like, my bad. Next time we'll put for fans of Kid Rock and Nickelback. Maybe that'll do the trick. And then he was like, you should put for fans of your vocalist sucks. And I was like, we just kicked him out. Would you like a spot instead?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. On the positive side of that, yes, it's really cool to see. It is very overwhelming and surreal to think that people are starting to like permanently put ink on their body based on either lyrics or just like there's community in pain. And that all started with the EP. So that's super cool. Like our friend Michael, he has a sleeve piece that's like Ivy based on the house I lived in.
Yeah.
So, and we never wrote the EP to put waves out into the masses. Like we just wrote about this that we were going through in our personal lives, and to see other people relate to those songs and those lyrics is it's the best feeling in the world, seeing someone scream at Nick of a lyric that they related to. It makes my heart swell.
Yeah,
like
nothing's better
it's
than
super
that.
dope.
Like when we play Faces, and like we play Faces in like a place that we're comfortable in and are well known, and like that line, "Don't say you have faith in me," comes up, and the whole crowd will just scream it at me. It's just, oh, it's so sick. There's no better feeling for sure.
That's so dope. In your processes, we've talked about the recording side of things, that whenever you guys structure your sets, what's the thought process going into that? Is it very strategic of, well, for this type of show, we're going to do this thing, have this transition, all of that whole process? Or is it just, hey, we're going to have our kind of set amount of songs, and then we're just going to kind of roll with that, until we start putting out new material? So what's that like?
Yeah, it's kind of both right now. Because we're just now getting to the point where we're starting to get our shit together. So we kind of wing it right now, just because we're experimenting all kinds of different things, trying to find our sound.
Especially because of how much material we have right now. We really only have like just one straightforward set that we play. Sometimes, like, depending on the bill, I will change up how I converse with the crowd. Like, one of my favorite things to do is when we are like straight up the bona fide no, like when we are straight up like the bona fide heaviest band on the bill, what I love to do is like we'll get like halfway through the set, and I'll be like, yeah, like when we play with like 1,000 Below, incredible band, obviously we're like much heavier than they are. It's like, blah blah blah, like 1,000 Below, who's here for them? Yeah. And I'm like, all right, who's ready to hear a lighter song? And then the whole crowd will be like, yeah. And I'll go, you, wrong band. And then we just play the next song. So like when we do stuff like when we play like lighter shows like that, I like to mess with the crowd a little bit. But besides that, like when we play heavier shows, I will like call the crowd obscene, like profane words and stuff like that, just for fun because they're there for that. That's what everybody likes. But yeah, when it comes to like our set planning right now, it's very straightforward. It's all right, here's our like 7 songs we're gonna play. It doesn't matter what we're doing or where we're at on the bill. Now in the future, when we drop this EP and then other stuff that we're working on, we'll have a lot to play around with. Like we're gonna have like another like 5 to 7 songs to play around with and mess with, already singles that we have out that are pretty successful that people like and stuff. So then it's going to start getting strategic on how do we want to do it. But for now, it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our end goal is, I don't know if you've ever seen a low set either like on YouTube or like in person, how they tie their songs together live to generate that atmosphere and to generate like, this isn't a show anymore. This is an experience. We want to try to achieve that for the new stuff that's coming out next couple months. Dang, I'm dark. I need to get some light. There we go. What? Nope. Shadow. There we go. Starting to get dark outside.
There you go.
Dang, I got a big forehead.
Oh, bro, the same here.
Big forehead, dude.
That's same right here, dude.
Actually, let me put this back on. Big forehead squat.
Gang, gang.
Well, whenever you do dive into those show elements, what have y'all found as some of your favorite songs to perform live?
Our new one that is unreleased called Become One. That is the song to play live.
Yeah. It's really cool seeing how like it isn't released yet. Every time we sound check, we look out in the crowd and there's at least one person that's like, what the, like you just see their face just what is this? And it's a cool feeling.
Like the most satisfying thing that I've had so far is when we opened for Alpha Wolf. We were sound checking with that song, and I remember it was the bass player from Vatican was at their merch table setting up merch, and the vocalist, drummer, and one of the guitar players from Alpha Wolf were at the bar getting something to drink, and we checked with Become One, and all of them just turned around and were looking at us like, sorry, what? And like I was just sitting there and I was like trying to just not shit myself basically, because I was like, oh god, they're all watching me sound check now. And like we finished just sound checking like half a song, and like the dudes from Alpha Wolf came up to us and they were like, yo, like that was massive, just weird. And so that's just become like my favorite song now because everybody loves it.
Yeah. So, did we play it for the Dark Path show?
No, we hadn't written it yet.
Dog. Dude, I can't wait for you to see that song live. It is absurd.
I would love it.
And this tour that we're doing with Empty in a couple weeks, we're actually doing 2 new songs on top of that one. So we'll have 4 new tracks that we're playing for the live set, and it's starting to get to like the atmosphere and like the world that we're trying to build for this next EP.
Yep.
Yeah. That's so dope.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
You wear a neck brace. That's all I gotta say.
Honestly, yeah.
Or like just protect yourself. Nate's little brother broke his nose the first time we played that song in Charlotte.
Oh no.
It was destroyed his nose.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been super cool. And we're experimenting with lighter songs as well. So can't wait to see how that ties into the atmosphere and the world that we're building. Translated live. It's gonna be it's gonna be cool.
From all of that, where you guys are at now and everything, that I'm sure there may be people that jump in that either are aspiring musicians that are in a similar spot. They're looking to either start a band or they are in one and they're trying to take a next step, in their journey just to try and advance and make their experiences better, to make their music better, whatever part of their journey that they're on. Just from what you guys have learned so far in your experiences, do you have any sort of, whether it's practical advice, emotional advice, anything going into it that you would say, hey, if I could go back and tell my former self, hey, look at this differently, or hey, try it from this approach, what would just be some of that advice that you would give?
Send it, bro. A lot of things, especially when we first started, we overthought every aspect of the band that didn't matter in the end. Nor did anyone notice. Like we would just, going back to the recording process, it's the same way live of just like revisions. What if we do this live? What do we do? And it's just like, no one's going to tell a difference. Just send
None
it.
of that matters. Yep.
Get to work. Just send it. Yeah. And I noticed too recently is that you can ask Nick, I'm terrible at shows when it comes to like, it's a big show and I'm stressed and I'm like, oh, everything's got to be perfect. Like, I got to make sure the backtracks are good, all this, good impressions. And it's like, dude, we're all there to have fun. Like, make sure you have fun. That's the primary thing. Because a lot of times, especially starting out, it gets really rough. Whether that be mentally, or just starting something new and starting from the bottom, it can get rough at times. So having that forefront of, I make music because I enjoy it, I have fun, it connects with other people. That's the only thing. I wish I could tell my younger self, like, stop worrying about all this shit that doesn't matter. Have fun, bro. Just have fun. And I usually play better when I'm not thinking about everything I think about usually and just have fun.
And, I would probably echo some of that similar advice that Garrett gave me a couple of years ago. Find that one solid person, as an aspiring musician, if you want to start a band, find that one solid person. The rest will come into place. And it's like Tyler said, like, don't be afraid to just send it. Don't be afraid to try things. Just make stuff happen. Because like one of the biggest things I can think of when I look back at us like 5 years ago is like, bro, put out some fucking music. Don't just put out one EP and then sit on your ass for 2 years. Put out music, experiment, try different things. Because that's the one thing we didn't do. And that's the one thing that we're really pushing ourselves really hard to do now is just write, and put out a bunch of stuff. Overload the system with our music. Not to a point where it's like we're releasing a track a day or anything like that. That's a little ridiculous. But, we want to put out a lot of projects and a lot of stuff now. And we should have been doing that already. And one big thing too is like, don't just listen to the hype. Like, don't sit here and buy into what every single other person is telling you. Like, oh, music industry standard is you go to a studio and you record a 10-song album. Don't do that. Do what you need to do. Do what's best for you. Like, we were in a position, we don't have money to do that. Like, we didn't have money to go pay somebody to record our music, to mix and master it. So we did it ourselves. And like, it's a learning process. We get better with it every time. And we stick with that process. People love to get into this like weird, like conformity, like standard thing where it's like, hey, everybody does this, so you have to do it. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Do what works for you. Yeah. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice. Do not just buy into whatever anybody's trying to peer pressure you into doing. Don't just do what everybody else is doing. Do what works for you.
And I think that's why we're starting to catch some growth is from that mentality. When we first started, there were so many bands that we played with that would honestly just criticize that we're not going to a major studio, tracking with a major producer. And then a year later, they're like, dude, this sounds dope. Who did it? And it's a cool reaction of like, yeah, I did it, dog. And in my head, I'm like, a year ago, you said that I had to go to a big producer just to make music. And it's cool seeing that too. Yeah, because again, it's about having fun and enjoying the process of things that connect all of us together, the music. Yeah. Some of the best songs that I like, some of my favorite songs sound like dog shit when it comes to like modern standards. So an excuse, like just do it, get it.
Yeah. And that's such a big freeing thing that I've learned in my experience and doing pop stuff, of learning how to produce. And I worked a job where I learned how to produce some, but being able to the internet is such a great tool. Like, figure out what type of software do you want to use, and then go look up YouTube videos on how do I do this on this platform. And then you just learn it. And it does so much for so many people. And so that's one of the beautiful things I think about technology is you can create music so accessibly now.
Right,
you got to grind to do it, but you can do it. And so I think that's such solid advice that I think a lot of people can find freedom in that you guys gave there. I think it's so huge.
And a lot of times, like, that opens up opportunities. A lot of times when you see, whether that be photographers or designers that are on tour or working with these bands, a lot of times it's because it came out of necessity. They needed something to be done that they couldn't afford, so they learned it themselves, put the time in. and then it opened up opportunities. Like that's how I got into design. We were just broke kids that couldn't afford to pay a designer. So we're like, I'm about to make this on my phone. And then now working with some of my favorite bands, designing stuff, and same with our stuff. Like we don't have to rely on someone else to do it for us, you know? And that could be a big deterrent for starting bands. Yeah. So just get it, bro. Yeah.
But yeah, man. And just to kind of conclude all of it, I think what you guys bring to the table musically is such a powerful thing. But I think for you guys to be open and talking about your experience and, you know, on this platform, but then just all across all platforms, you guys do such a great job of talking about what you're going through. And man, I think that resonates with people so much. You guys see that obviously way more than I do, but just from an outside perspective, you know, looking in, it's cool to see the ways that people connect with you guys because of how open and vulnerable you are about the things that you go through. And so, man, I appreciate you guys taking the time to jump in and chat through some of that stuff. And I'm excited for what you guys have coming up. And so just for people that want to stay connected more with you and just kind of want to know what you have coming up, what's the best ways that they can stay connected to you guys personally and just Wiltwither as a whole?
Stay connected through social media. I mean, that's the easiest way for a lot of things nowadays, right? You can find us Wiltwither on everything. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We don't really use Twitter that much, but definitely Facebook and Instagram. And same for our personals. You know, I'm super open. Just Nick Rendelman on anything. You can find me literally like that. I'm the only one, so it takes no effort. Feel free to hit me up, add me. I don't care. I'd love to. I love to stay connected with people and talk and have a good time. So
same here. T Syphertt or Tyler Syphertt on everything. We also have a Discord that we started a couple months ago. That form gets all of our information before anything else, before it hits any other social media. So Discord's a cool way, release like exclusive merch, little snippets of new songs, behind the scenes stuff. Trying to tamper into Patreon maybe this year, but we'll see. Just Discord, social media, YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff.
That's dope, man. But yeah, Nick, Tyler, I want to say thank you once again for hanging out with me and chatting with me, and man, just being able to pick your brains for a little bit. And for real, I'm excited to catch a show. I'm excited to hear the song and hear what else you guys have coming out, man. I'm pumped for you guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for having us.
You've been a homie for a long time, man. We're happy to hang out with you.
What's up, everybody? Just want to take the time to say thank you for checking out this episode of The Writer's Block. Whether you're watching through YouTube or listening through a podcast, man, it just means the world to us. And you can stay connected with us and all the other resources that we have at Creative Corner Co. by subscribing to the YouTube channel or subscribing to the podcast, as well as connecting with us through social media. And you can check out all the other resources and things that we have and connect to those social media links by going to www.creativecornercompany.com. We thank you so much, and we can't wait to see you again soon.